This camera acts up on me again. Hello YouTubers, Chief Prepper here. I haven't done a video in a while because I've been busy doing stuff. So I'm going to be titling this video Food for Thought. I've been watching a lot of prepper channels, and I think as preppers we need to figure out how to convey the message that people need to really start taking prepping seriously. And this is almost impossible without instilling that sense of dread and the fear and everything. I have lunch with my dad 3 times a week, and we talk a lot about the upcoming winter. And basically right now, if there's going to be a winter storm, he's moving in with us temporarily again. Talk about the state of the economy, the state of the union, that piece of shit fucking president we have, and the democratic socialist fucking communist pico fucking piece of shit party that's running our country into the ground. I was headed down a path mentally where I was getting close to going down a dark hole, so I pulled back from it. But I'm bringing this up because we need to slow our roll. We need to still continue to convey the message to everyone to prep. That's really important. So, but we need to try to back off of some of the fear mongering, I guess is what I would call it. In the end, the strong will survive. Prepping is a life choice. It's not an overnight adventure. We need to try to keep things in perspective. There's a lot of bad shit in the world right now. I'm reading off the notes because if I don't, I'll get weird. Try not to live in fear, but keep your eyes and your ears open. Try not to panic. And the biggest thing is do not stop prepping. I watched some videos last week, I think, talking about how...
Here's what I found.
Cancel. Talking about how I think the grid may go down this winter. I think it's going to be almost like a on-purpose thing. And then when it goes down, there's going to be really, really, really bad things happen. And then one of the, I want to say 2 prepping channels brought up the fact, what better time would it be for a nation-state enemy like China or Russia or both, or even Iran and North Korea to attack us. So that's kind of a big deal. So, one of the things that I tried to allude to when I was on live with Gray Man is you cannot sit and dwell on something that may or may not happen, or like the volcano in La Palma. If it does have a tsunami that takes out the East Coast, well, if you got family on the East Coast, call them and tell them you love them, and then tell them to make sure they have a place to go. I can tell you now that if it happens, not everybody in New York City is going to get out, because I don't think they all have cars, and even if they did, there'll be a traffic jam 150, 300 miles long trying to get out of there. It ain't going to work. Happens down here when we have an evacuation for hurricanes. So if you don't leave early, like early, then you ain't going to leave. And as soon as you can leave is at 8 hours, and that's just dropping what you're doing, hopping in your car and leaving. But basically, keep things in perspective. You can't help your family on the East Coast if they don't listen. So tell them you love them and leave them be. If you're on the East Coast, then I would damn sure try to find a place to go or have a plan. Maybe do a dry run. We can't do anything about World War III. We can't do anything about what our current administration and government is doing to our country. All we can do is prepare the best that we can. So keep that in mind. Just as a crazy side note, last year, because I really love brown and serve rolls, I bought 2 extra packages, put them in the deep freeze, double bagged them. I pulled some out last week on Wednesday, and then we cooked them up on Sunday, so we had kind of an early turkey day. They were awesome, by the way. Love them. So, another side note, Acme affiliated hardware stores, a lot of them are mom and pop hardware stores, possibly some of the off-the-wall Ace ones. I know that the Acme store that my wife works in still has seeds. They're not on sale, and some of them are heirloom, which is important. So I want to talk about something that's a little bit disgusting. For people who live in the country, you probably don't see it, but those of us who live in and around big cities, specifically San Antonio, in my case, has a huge homeless population. And you might be saying, why am I going to talk about that? Why is it disgusting? Well, homeless right now is something that if you watch them, you can learn from them, and it's also kind of a picture of how life might be in a real extended shift event. You know, you're not going to be taking showers all the time, so you're going to stink. You're going to have a ragged, unkempt appearance. You're also going to be skinny. So one of the things I would advise that I haven't heard on channels is even if you're prepping and you have lots of food, you may not be able to take the time to eat 3 meals a day or snack 5 to 6 times a day. So you're inevitably, in addition to having a more arduous physical life and not eating, you're going to lose weight. So you might want to consider going to secondhand stores and spending a little bit of money on some clothes that are going to be smaller. And then if you're not bugging out, then you can have them available for in the event that you're going to lose weight. The other thing is, almost all of the ones that have been doing it, the whole homeless thing for a while, they have a cart of some kind to haul their stuff around in, and they have a backpack if they don't have a cart, or they have both. So just food for thought on, you know, they're carrying things that are valuable to them. So if you're bugging out or you're walking somewhere, then pay attention to the fact that you're going to need a way to carry stuff and transport stuff. And they do it, so it's a way to do it. And then I've been thinking about how physically demanding it's going to be, and trying to give an example to people of what every single day will be like. Pinball Preparedness brought up a good point that you're going to have to pull guard duty no matter how many people are in your house. So if there's 2, then you're going to wind up pulling 2 4-hour shifts. If there's 3, then you can do less hours. 4 would be optimal, but you're going to work all day, and it's going to be very physically demanding. So if you want an idea how bad that is, more so for people who are more like non-physical laborers, like people who don't do anything physically challenging, and then they, you don't do any exercising. Even if you exercise, go out and split wood somewhere, either with a hydraulic splitter or with sledges and wood mauls and wedges. Do that for a day, and that'll give you an idea of what every day will be like. And then realize that if you're walking everywhere, it's going to be very, very tough. My advice is to start walking, and then add a pack, 10 to 20 pounds, and work your way up. And then you also need to walk not on a road. You need to walk in rough, uneven terrain, because that's probably what you're going to be walking in. We had a saying in the military, In peacetime, you go by the roads. In war, you go through the woods. So keep that in mind. And you want to increase your distance and your endurance. I just watched Gray Man Prepping, and he said he does a loop 4 or 5 times a week. I think he said 5, but it was like 6.25 miles, and that's a good thing. So, if you have bicycles and you plan to use them, make sure you get extra tires and tubes. Those will wear out quickly if you're using them all the time. We already talked about keep things in perspective as far as the volcano, East Coast, World War III. I did not talk about Civil War, but war is war, and they all suck. But you do need to think about a world without rule of law, and what you are willing to do, and the consequences. And then one of the channels was talking about the possibility of 911 systems going down because they don't have operators. So this may be a little bit longer video. So an update, I have my new backup power generator. It's a Westinghouse generator 9500 DF, which means dual fuel. So it runs on gas and it runs on propane. I've already got it test run on gas, and then I'll set it up to test run on the propane too. But it's already got the power cord hooked up to it. I still have to get the hookup on the house, but I've got hopefully a couple months before I need that. So it runs at 9,500 watts on gas, surges to 12.5. On liquid propane, it runs at 8,200 watts and surges to 11.2 or 11.2 kW. If you're wondering what the hookup on the house says, it's a dual pole 50 amp breaker, wires to support the appropriate amperage, conduit, and the receptacle that hangs on the house attached to the conduit, and the wires go into my circuit breaker box. I may or may not get my 250 gallon liquid propane tank. It's kind of a toss up between that and the second solar generator. I don't know which would be more advantageous. I really want to get them both, but like everyone else, there's a limitation on funds. I'm looking at a second EB240 Blue Eddy, or possibly their new AC300. I also want to look at the EcoFlow Delta Pro, I think, which is 3,600 amp hours, so it's bigger than the EB240. I got my 96 1-ton running, which is what threw the wrench into my funds for this month. And then my wife's 71 Dodge D100 is back together. We actually cranked on it, but I have not got it running again. I got to fiddle with the carburetor and other stuff. I have 1.5 cords of wood on hand. A week from this Friday, I'll get a 4th half cord, and then another half cord a week later, and then possibly the last cord, probably, even though we may not need to go ahead and get that. So we will be, even without the liquid propane tank, we're further ahead on backup power generation than most. It's not cheap. It's actually quite expensive, but I think it's something that, with the way the world is going, that everybody who should invest the money. I did a video on it. I didn't go into too much detail because there are some things that you need to do in order to actually do it. My advice is to get an electrician to do the wiring, especially if you have no skill. And then, like I said in the past, you need to invest in both gas and solar power, because no matter how much gas you have, you're eventually going to run out. Air conditioner just came on, so it may be noisy. Every day it seems like there's more and more bad news. Every day there's more information out there about how the supply chains are breaking down. It's probably one of the biggest reasons you need to do the prepping part, the food, the water security, backup power, multiple sources of heat, multiple ways to cook your food, a way to have potable water. If the power goes out, you don't get any water out of the tap, because most people don't know the water coming out of your tap is powered by a pump. It really bothers me that the elites in America have bought into whatever this shit is that's going on. Well, we're going to go from being number one to being a number. We're probably not going to be number one anymore. And it's just like, what is wrong with you? Why would you give up that position? I feel like a lot of other people that something's going to start and it's going to be awful. So just be prepared. I will tell you, you need to start getting physically fit more. I mean, like, you need to get to where you can run, you can hop over stuff, you can move with a pack, you can move with body armor. I'm not there. I'm working on doing some stuff, but I'm older, back don't like it, and it causes me big problems, and most of the time I'm going to be sitting in place and fighting. So if the supply chain fails, fuel stops running, you can bet within days that things are going to get fucking ugly. Keep that in mind. I hope it doesn't go down that path, but there's a lot of things pointing to severe problems, like everyone else. Sometime this winter, maybe before Christmas, so maybe before Thanksgiving. Don't know what to say. I'm trying not to be fear-mongering myself, but it's hard to talk about the importance and the need to be prepared without bringing up the instances on why. Right now we have thunder and lightning outside. We have the remnants of that hurricane that come across Mexico, tracking northwest of us.